welcome to the first episode of The Graveyard Shift. Like many of my fellow insomniac weirdos, I enjoy spending my nights pondering the unexplained, exploring the occult, and hanging out with some cryptids. So naturally I want to make videos about these great mysteries along with my slightly incoherent rambling to dump on my channel. So with no further ado, let's talk about some weird shit. At first I was considering starting off the first episode with a more mainstream well-known subject, like for example Bigfoot, or the fact the world is secretly run by a shadow government populated by lizard people who are at war with communist crab people. But I decided to take a different route, one that led me home, you might say. For our first graveyard shift, I'll be talking about the Kludde, a tormenting demon that resides in Belgium. Like many demonic entities, the Kludde is capable of assuming many shapes to stalk and assault his victims, or cause mischief in general, usually taking the form of a big black dog, a black cat, or a large bird. He has also been described as an unearthly creature, being a bipedal, large dog-like creature possessing bear claws, a black beak, bat wings, and crimson red bulging eyes. Why change into an animal when you can be an unnatural abomination patchwork of animal parts, I suppose. Another detail is that the creature also has a shackle around one of its legs. The rattling of his shackle is often how he makes his presence known to anyone unlucky enough to cross paths with the entity. There has been some speculation that Kludde might be a werewolf or an evil water spirit. A more down-to-earth speculation is that Kludde was just a madman wearing the fur of a wolf. A rather skeptic explanation, but it doesn't explain how there were sightings all over Belgium, unless there was an underground furry fan club running amok back then. No matter what shape or form Kludde took, one thing remained the same: his nighttime hobby of terrorizing the locals. His misdeeds range between evil-spirited pranks down to straight-up dragging children into the water to meet their deaths. So if you run into the Kludde, you better hope he had his nightcap. One of his most infamous pranks is jumping on the back of an unsuspecting person and making himself increasingly heavy, forcing the poor human pack mule to carry the demon until the sun rises. Kludde also teamed up with Lange Wapper, another tormenting demon that was known to terrorize the city of Antwerp. Even shape-shifting demons need friends. While Kludde is considered immortal, like most creatures of the demonic persuasion, there are plenty of stories where the townsfolk manage to elude and chase off the wicked fiend. Simply running away is not a smart option though, because of Kludde's supernatural speed, outrunning him is impossible. One story mentions a farmer that was tormented every night by the demon, whom decided it would be fun to lurk around his house screaming and rattling his chain. After a few nights the farmer was fed up with it and awaited the trickster behind the door of his hovel. When night fell upon the farm, Kludde appeared once again for his nightly haunting session. The farmer, armed with a large kitchen knife, opened the door only to find Kludde standing in the door opening, taunting him. But the sleepless farmer was having none of it and plunged his knife in the surprised demon's stomach. Kludde screamed out, in what I assume was demonic for "It's just a prank, bro," and ran off, restoring the farmer's night rest. Another trick to outsmart Kludde is to toss a handkerchief in his gaping jaws. He'll be too busy trying to get the bits of fabric from between his chompers, giving his prey a chance to flee. Apparently this is a common trick in werewolf folklore tales. While most tales of Kludde originate from the East Flanders region, there are also stories of the fiendish foe running amok in Antwerp and other locations found in Flanders, the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium, which is also my humble location of residence in the mortal realm, but alas, I've never met the Kludde face to face. Yet. I got to know about Kludde through the technological magic of animation. As a young kid, I watched a Flemish animated film named Jan zonder vrees, translated John the Fearless. John the Fearless is a folkloric figure from Antwerp. He is a strong, heroic guy that has no fear of anyone or anything. In the film, he has to flee Antwerp after mortally injuring his nephew, whom attacked him at a graveyard disguised as a ghost. Along his travels, he gets into a scuffle with a farmer that was mistreating his slave, a man named Docus. Eventually, John strikes a deal with the farmer. If he manages to get rid of Kludde, then Docus would become a free man. At the end of the film, John and Kludde face off in a short fight in the dark woods of Dendermonde. John emerges victorious, and in a Scooby-Doo twist unmasks the demon as the Lord of Moorzeke, a nobleman John had a confrontation with earlier in the film. Despite the Kludde in this rendition ending up being a guy in a scary suit, the way they introduced him was pretty scary, especially watching as a kid. Throughout the years, Kludde has made many appearances in Flemish media, books and comics, making him, along with his buddy Lange Wapper, a vital part of Flemish folklore. Nowadays, you probably won't run into Kludde on an evening walk. But if you want to increase your chances of giving a piggyback ride to an ancient evil, you can give the city of Wichelen a visit. There you can find a walking route aptly named the Kludde Path, where you can visit an old bridge said to have been the home of Kludde for many years. So maybe he'll invite you over for some tea, or violently drown you. And that wraps up our first episode of The Graveyard Shift. Thanks for watching and have a spooky night. Should you hear rattling chains in the middle of the night, the Kludde might be dropping in for a visit.